Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught! Jelani Woods! Touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Friday, June 30th. Last day of June, last day of the first half of summer, I guess you should say.
Last day of the first half of the year.
There you go. The last half of the first half. So, perfect. Appreciate you joining us. John, the producer there. Alec Busse will be joining us as well. We'll talk some recruiting from the Hoosier.com. Bob Kravitz will join us. Zach Osterman. Rick Bozich. Man, an all-star lineup. That's right. How's everybody doing? Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce won the Chiefs championship playing golf yesterday. How's everybody getting along? Appreciate everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Speaking of Andy Moore, of course, the best in new and used vehicle. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com and Endeavor Hospitality and their family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, or all the way down to Anna Marie Island in Florida, the Ugly Grouper, of course, the Chop Shop and BB's Market located in Bloomington. Steakhouse that is just killing it, and the market to go with it. How's the last day of the year for you, John Boy?
The first half of the year. It's going good.
The last, my bad. See, I'm confusing myself now.
Looking forward to a 4-day weekend, as many other people probably are. And it's going to be a hot one as well as we enter into July.
The NFL suspends multiple players, and 2 of them are Colts, I believe, for gambling issues. And I've not seen anything where anyone has done anything that has been unscrupulous. It's just breaking the rules, whether it's betting from a facility, even out of season. You can't make any kind of a bet on any kind of a sporting event on team property or anything like that. So big story with that yesterday. We knew that was kind of coming. But the NFL is trying to set a precedent, I guess, to say the best way to say that. Some of the other players that was reading that had nothing to do with that said they thought these guys maybe were sacrificial lambs, and there's a lot of confusion of what the rules are for those guys, what's not. I'm like, how do you not know? How do you all not do that? Whether it's the teams, the league, however, I just don't know how they let themselves get into this position. Calvin Ridley was handed a 1-year ban previously for this, but it did not stop guys from just not knowing the rules. And you can hear guys say, well, I didn't know that. I'm like, man, at that level, you got to know. You have to ask. You have to take if you don't, extra step. Because it is more serious than any time ever in our sports culture, with TV being as big, with betting being as big. I mean, there used to be zero gambling in regards to NFL players being allowed to do anything. Well, now the NFL, they have multiple partnerships with gambling houses. Not only that, they have sports books in some of the football stadiums. So, yeah, there's that. You can actually place a bet at the game. That's kind of crazy. Isaiah Rodgers was a return man for the Colts. That they're going to lose him and another player for a year. It just it blows my mind that you don't bother to find out when you know what's at stake. But not for me to ask, I guess. Well, I guess it's for me to ask, but just mind-boggling. But we'll talk about that a little bit more with Bob and Rick. Caroline Wozniak coming out of retirement, playing the U.S. Open. Man, former U.S. world number one, playing in the National Bank Open in Montreal in August before taking on the U.S. Open. It's her first Grand Slam event since 2020. Always enjoyed watching her play. How are you spending your 4th of July weekend? What are your plans? Thanks a lot for everybody for joining us on the Andy Moore Honda Hotline. The Reds are in first place heading into the at the end of the first half of the season. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy for me to be able to say that. But they are. As a matter of fact, Wednesday, the Reds won in extra innings over Baltimore, which was the halfway point. They sit in first place. They've won 6 consecutive road series and 17 of their past 22 games. And 2 of those were one-run losses to Atlanta. So how about that? Phil Castellini, president, has to be pretty excited. Looking forward to seeing what happens on the back half with Eli De La Cruz and Joey Votto and company. It should be fun. Do they make any deals? Kind of funny talking about the Reds making a deal. They usually make deals to get rid of people. Indiana made the final 8 for defensive end yesterday. Football's not that far away. 2 months until fall camp begins, I believe.
2 months will be close to. We may already be in week 0 at that point. Fall camp will begin in less than 2 months.
Yeah, it's crazy how soon. Oh, I was tag on it. I was trying to find him. Oh, man. I was trying to find that. It's a nice final to be in. The other 8 were 4 or 5 SEC members. Virginia Tech, there was another Tech. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Indiana, and a bunch of SEC schools. But it's good company for Indiana to be in. It's a 3-star defensive end. The Hoosiers also got a commitment from long snapper Alan Suckup. So the football program is still, they're pulling guys in, man. It's going to be really interesting to see what Tom Allen's able to get done this season. Alan Suckup, the latest long snapper, and Indiana has made a point of grabbing great long snappers every 4 years. He is the only specialist in the current recruiting, in the current crop of commitments. He's a 5-star long snapper. And very rarely do long snappers get scholarships, but Indiana does that on a routine basis. And I think it's smart. That's something you can just lock down, man. And a program like Indiana needs to take advantage of everything they can. Glad to see everybody else jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. We appreciate you. Plenty more coming up. Alec Busse from thehoosier.com will join us next. And then Bob Kravitz. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market.
Damn it. I should have used the sound right there, John.
Oh, you're fine. I've got to pull it because I forgot we had that from yesterday from Malik.
Yeah. God damn it.
Morning, Alec. Is he frozen? Oh, there he is.
No, he's not.
No, I'm not. Good morning.
What's
How
up,
you doing,
dude?
guys?
What's up?
Nothing much. Ready for a holiday weekend, I guess, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, let's see. Speaking of which, oh, look what showed up. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. You know.
What's new?
Nothing much. Birthday tomorrow, so
Oh, happy birthday.
appreciate
That's
that.
very happy birthday. July 1st.
Well, July 1st, baby. What, all right, so what's new? Anything?
Nothing much is going on this week in terms of basketball recruiting, in terms of developments. I mean, the NBA PA top 100 or NBA PA top 100 is going on. Staff down there watching kids, but nothing like development. Things happening.
All right, here we go, guys.
From a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this June 30th, last day of the first half of the year. Alec Busse from thehoosier.com joins us. How's it going, Alec?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Ready for a holiday weekend, if that's what you want to call it.
Absolutely. Not a lot going on at the moment. Everything's kind of settled down. I mentioned a moment ago, Indiana football not getting a commitment, but making the top 8 for 3-star defensive end. But it was the company that they're making, which stood out to me. They 4 SEC schools, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, somebody else I'm trying to think, but it was just good. Deion Sanders. So it's good good company that they're in, which is still. I'm amazed that Indiana is still able to maintain a level of recruiting, even though they're not having the success that some of these other programs are. They don't have the buzz that some of these other programs are, but they're still able to hang in there recruiting wise.
Yeah, they're up to 12 commitments right now in their 2024 class, which, I mean, it doesn't necessarily rank the best nationally. If you kind of look at where it ranks, I mean, Rivals has it ranked right now 59th in the country, which I think is last in the Big Ten, or 14th or like 13th in the Big Ten, depending on where things have developed this week. I haven't looked at the Big Ten ranking since Wednesday or Thursday, I don't think. So, you know, they've done a good job of securing commitments in June and capitalizing on official visitors. They did earn a commitment from one of my favorite prospects that they had visiting this week or last weekend officially, and Hubert Callist. He's from New Orleans, Tennessee, or New Orleans. He's a tight end, 6'5", 230, 240 pounds, good pass catching kid. And then I think they've done a good job of just kind of improving some class balance here of late in the last week. That, like I said, 12 kids, but most of them are on the offensive side of the ball, but they started to get some kids on the defensive side, 3 or 4 DBs on that side of the ball. And then also they added a linebacker who is a little bit undersized in Quentin Clark. He's only about 195 pounds. But if you get some weight on him, I think he's got the ability to be a pretty good tackler in the Big Ten. Got long arms, plays with good pursuit, and does a really good job of wrapping up.
Sounds good there. And as that continues, we're not that far off from fall camp, 2 months away from things really kicking off as the summer is here, this being the June 30th, the last day of the first half, as I keep calling it. But the rubber hits the road with Indiana. We still don't know who their starting quarterback is going to be, which it's weirder because normally that would be the thing going into, but you'd have a pretty good idea. I have no idea. I'm not even attempting to have an idea right now of who that is because I don't know. I don't know who's going to be able to do what and get the most out of the offense. Last year at the end of the season, they had to completely change the offense, but they found success in winning the game at Michigan State. But that's not going to be sustainable, I don't think, long term. And we'll see how that goes. But the quarterback carousel, not carousel, but finding out who that's going to be is which we won't know for quite some time yet. But that's going to be hugely, hugely important to this Indiana Hoosiers football program.
Yeah, I mean, it should end up being Brennan Sorsby or Taven Jackson, who transferred in from Tennessee. Jackson's obviously the younger brother of Trace Jackson Davis. So there's some cool family connections to a famous Hoosier already. I'm actually fascinated to kind of follow that quarterback competition come training camp. Tom Allen spoke this summer about how they haven't made a decision yet, and he anticipates making a decision after the second or third team scrimmage this fall, which kind of makes sense. I think they want to continue to get eyes on those two guys and decide who's really going to lift the rest of the offense up. I think Jackson's certainly more talented. He was a high 4-star recruit. I think Rivals had him ranked right around the top 100. And he kind of left Tennessee just because of circumstances. Obviously, they had a pretty good quarterback situation this last year with Hendon Hooker starting until he tore his ACL. And now Joe Milton has kind of been tabbed as one of the potential breakout stars of our sport this upcoming year. And they bring Nico Iamaleava, 5-star quarterback, top 5 overall recruit in the class by a few different services last season. So I think Jackson kind of felt the need to kind of leave and see if he could move himself up closer to a starting position at a new home. And I think he feels like he has an opportunity to do that at Indiana. But, Brendan Sorsby started a few games for Indiana last year, I believe, and showed some flashes at different times. But that competition is still ongoing, and we'll kind of see who ends up taking the reins on it.
And then yesterday we had the opportunity to speak with Malik Renew, the first player that we've spoken to for the upcoming season in regards to Indiana basketball. Malik, of course, a returning player, a sophomore forward from Montverde Academy. But the thing that struck me yesterday in talking to him was how poised and polished he sounded in all of his answers and confident. And I was like, wow, you can see the growth. You could hear the growth. And in your piece that you had with the Hoosier.com in regards to his expected role as a leader, I could feel that in the interview. I could see it, hear it. I was like, wow, I was impressed with interviews are not always great with these younger guys. Just because, I know I wasn't great doing them or being interviewed then, but man, the poise that he had really, it just struck me yesterday.
Yeah, I don't recall listening to him a lot as a freshman. Obviously I wasn't covering Indiana, so I wasn't listening to a ton of his media availabilities, but he certainly had a confidence to him yesterday when speaking to the press on Zoom that I thought was good to hear. He spoke a lot about how the coaching staff is kind of pushing him to take on a bigger leadership opportunity and bigger leadership role. And that's kind of what a feature story I wrote about yesterday on our website was kind of all about. And the certain guys leaving, obviously Trace Jackson Davis leaving, Race Thompson leaving, Miller Kopp is gone. Those guys leaving has opened up a big opportunity for returners to take a bigger emphasis on leadership and communicating and holding their teammates accountable, because there are 6 new faces and 3 of them are freshmen and the other 3 are transfers. And 2 of the transfers haven't always been the most consistent players in their college careers. So there is certainly a need for players on this Indiana team to hold others accountable and kind of help bring them along. And I think Malik Renew is kind of one of the players returning for Indiana that's being asked to do those things by IU's coaching staff. And he seems to be taking a willing role at doing those things because he has to, but 2, I think he wants to. And I think that's a really kind of cool development for Malik Renew in his career, because this is obviously a really big season for him. He didn't play a ton last season, but a lot of that was because of circumstance, right? Like, he wasn't going to get on the court over Trace Jackson Davis. I don't think he was going to get on the court and take major minutes away from Race Thompson last season because of what Race Thompson gave Indiana for so long in his experience. But now this upcoming season, Malik Renew has an opportunity to, I think, show more of his game and show more of his skill and his talents. But he also needs to do it more consistently and not foul as much, just to allow himself to be on the floor more as a defender. And then also, maybe expand his game a little bit on the offensive side and find more consistency as a scorer, help set his teammates up with kick out passes to the perimeter to shooters and things along those lines.
Yeah, and the growth and that I talked about is going to be hugely important, because while Indiana is going to be stacked with talent on the front court, it's all new and a lot of it is young, and that's including having Malik, who's just a sophomore, but obviously he played extraordinarily well in his freshman year. But you're looking at replacing minutes controlled by Trace Jackson Davis for a long time, and that's very comforting when you have that, and now you don't, and there's not one person that's going to fill that role, those minutes, those points, all of that he did. That's going to be probably by committee of sorts, but Malik Renew is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, no, he's going to be a massive part of that for Indiana this upcoming season, and for a kid who, has talent. Like his talent is undeniable. I mean, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and that obviously says a lot about the type of player he was. And he had some good flashes last season. He started games when Race Thompson was hurt, and he had some good moments for Indiana. I mean, he averaged about 6 points a game, 3.5, 4 rebounds. And he did all that just in 15 minutes of game a night. Like that's pretty good numbers. Like I said, what kind of held him back a lot last year was the fact that he fouled a lot on the defensive side. And I think part of that, Jim, and I need to go back and watch a lot more of his film from last season, but I think he kind of knew he wasn't going to play a ton of minutes. So he was able to kind of go in there, and if he got beat, he was able to foul someone. If he, like, you know what I mean? Like he could kind of play with his fouls a little bit because he wasn't going to play 25 minutes a game. And if he got beat, he was able to put 2 hands on someone and say, all right, no, go to the free throw line and make 2 free throws. I'm just going to give you an easy layup. So his development is going to be huge for Indiana this upcoming season because they're relying on an up transfer and Peyton Sparks, who I am high on. He was really consistent. They're relying on Anthony Walker, someone whose best year in college was as a sophomore, and he comes to Indiana as a COVID year transfer using his last year of eligibility. And then Khalil Ware, who we all know is super talented, but really struggled at Oregon for a lot of the season. I mean, Khalil Ware, if you really look at it, I mean, he was benched for 1 game by Dana Altman at Oregon. He had another 3-game stretch where he played just 9 minutes over the 3 contests, but he also had moments where he really shined as a defender. He played really well in the PK tournament around Thanksgiving. And that talent is undeniable, but they need Malik Renew to kind of be a really steadying force, I think, for that front court heading into this upcoming season because of the variables that come naturally with Khalil Ware being a transfer, Peyton Sparks being an up transfer, and Anthony Walker just maybe not being the most talented or the most I don't know how to exactly describe Anthony Walker. I guess maybe the most reliable transfer. Like I don't think they're relying on Anthony Walker to come in and give them double-digit points every night, I guess is what I'm kind of trying to say.
I agree with that 100%. It's a different role for him. He's going to have to play with a little more control. As you pointed out, he was able to play pretty freely last year, even with his fouls, because he wasn't expected to carry that load. Where this year, that's going to be quite different. He's going to have to be and needs to be a little more stealth, I guess is the best thing to say, with that, so he can stay in there, because part of the reason he didn't get to play as much as he could have probably is because of that. But, of course, you expect improvement from him, from whether it's shooting across the board, C.J. Gunn or whomever, to fill these roles. But getting back to Malik, just talked to him about that yesterday. We had the opportunity to speak with him, and like I said, he was the first player to meet with us. And here's what he had to say in regards to improving his defense and getting busy in the gym both.
Definitely my defensive side, being able to defend, like I said, all 5 positions and being able to rebound. And what I learned from Coach Wilson is that our team is going to be a defensive team no matter what. We're going to defend, and we're going to try to hold people under 60. So that's really what we do. So the defense is a big key to our success when we come onto the basketball court.
No doubt that he knows what the plan is. And that's another thing you have to love about anybody. They know what the plan is, and they are set for it. And defense is, going to be the key to this Indiana offense, I guess you should say. But that was a key last year. And as you can see, Mike Woodson is already hanging his hat on getting these guys to understand that it's defense first. And that one is already obviously well into his line of thinking. He's also been getting in the gym, busy in the gym, getting ready for this season. Let's hear more from Malik.
Yeah, so I mean, having those scrimmages or those games where we're playing 15 minutes straight and just working on conditioning and getting out and having no pace, and and that definitely helping me out with just conditioning and being able to stand long periods of time without getting breaks and stuff like that. And then having individual workouts every day with my trainer guy Isaac, and just working on the things that we need to work on. Rim running, we're doing rim running, so we're running to the rim, posting up hard, catch and shoot threes, trail threes, drill pull up, stuff like that. Trying to mix up all types of games and still working on my strong suit, posting up too, working on my hooks and stuff like that. So just working on everything every time I step on the court and have an individual workout. I'm trying to touch on everything, and that's pretty much it.
Rim running, baby, rim running. Mike Woodson knows his team's got to be a much better rebounding team, and that's when Malik was referencing there. But he has the horses to do it for certain with the front court he's going to have to be able to throw down there, whether it's Peyton Sparks or Khalil Ware or Mackenzie Mbako or Malik Renew. But these guys, like I said, they're a lot of youth, so they have to learn. What's up next for you, Alec, and the Hoosier.com?
Yeah, we'll have another feature story going up on Malik Renew from a staffer. Today, Mason Williams should be able to get a feature done on him, but it's been a pretty busy week over at the website. A couple commits for football, so make sure you check out who Indiana's adding for football. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier in the segment, so check that stuff out as well. And then obviously next week is some high school basketball recruiting events. So we'll have some previews of those, and then we'll kind of update some content throughout the week on how Indiana's targets are performing next weekend.
All right, brother. Sounds good. Enjoy yourself. Have a great 4th of July holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Absolutely. We've got more coming up, including the great Bob Kravitz, the human firecracker, right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
the human firecracker, what's that mean?
I don't know. It just sounded good.
It just sounded good. The unemployed firecracker.
It sounded good at the time. Human. Yesterday was J.D. Campbell's last deal. I couldn't believe it. It didn't dawn on me until I was in the middle of it. I was like, oh, crap, this is it.
Yeah, we can talk about him if you want. I wish I could do the same thing.
Oh, I'd rather you stick around. I like looking at you.
Yeah, but yeah, well, I got to find a job.
I don't think that's going to be difficult.
I think it's going to be a massive problem.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a 63-year-old, columnist. I mean, it's just
but
not a lot of people looking for one of those.
Yeah, but you're not just any 63-year-old columnist.
I might do the Substack deal where you write your own shit and you sell subscriptions that way. I might go that route. We'll see. I don't know. I got one offer on the table that I'm not going to talk about, but I have no interest in it. So we'll see. We'll see. But if you want to talk about my demise, that's fine too.
No, it's never happened. Do you have a baseball team?
The New York Mets, I guess. But
that's right. That's right. That's what John said. That's right. You and Brockway, I forgot. Yeah.
We're having a rough year.
Not afraid to spend the money.
No, they're not. So yeah, I was down in Bloomington yesterday, just meeting a friend, and the storms rolled through, and we were trying to go to Mother Bears and all these different places, and the electricity was out everywhere.
Man, I saw somebody put out a thing. Did everybody else in Bloomington lose power? And I was like, wow.
Yeah, a lot of people lost it, and no TV back in the room. It was first world problems, man.
Did you play the foul?
Did I play the what?
The foul course.
Oh no! I just went down to meet a friend. I didn't play golf down there. Playing today though. Got nothing else to do.
You're still in Bloomington? That's cool.
No. I'm back home. I told John, I said I'm going to be driving back, but I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, well, hell, I'll just get in my car and go. So back in front of the computer.
Grizzly veteran. Did you watch? I watched the only because it was on where I was, the NHL draft the other night.
Mm-hmm.
I found it at first. I thought they were holding it in some National Guard armory because the players, the top picks, were like walking down from the upper levels.
Oh, really?
Like, where is this? But it was
the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Snakes and Sparklers weekend. Speaking of snakes and sparklers, Bob Kravitz joins us.
I've been called a rat, but never a snake.
Well, you know, snakes
and certainly never a sparkler. I know that for a fact.
That's the good stuff. If you ever watched the movie Joe Dirt.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
Yeah. I've never been a someone who's into the 4th of July fireworks. I mean, I like watching them.
Yeah,
but like I never liked shooting them off. I just
you know what?
For me.
I'm sure as a kid, you know, I went through my packs of firecrackers and whatnot, and
yeah, the little ones, sparklers and stuff.
Yeah, but I've never, and bottle rockets. Other than a bottle rocket, I don't think I've set off a firework. Other than that,
yeah. You see too many. You see these people like they do these fireworks, and next thing you know, their car's on fire. I'm like, all right. Never mind.
That's like every year when
let's just go get another beer.
It's like every year when everybody's going to deep fry the turkey.
Oh, exactly. You're just asking for trouble.
It's like, come on, man. It's like, wait, we're all just sitting around waiting. It's like Jimmy Kimmel episode, waiting for the episode where everybody's going to set it all on fire.
There you go.
Which is nuts. But so, what have you been doing with? You been watching anything? Sports? Just playing golf?
Dude, it's been a really weird couple of weeks, but I've just tried to get away, and not think about my situation, and playing a lot of golf and having the occasional cocktail. Got up to Michigan for a long weekend up in Saugatuck, which is really nice. So, yeah, I haven't been paying a lot of attention, so I'm probably a useless guest on your fine radio program. But, I'm following the Pacers. See what they're going to do in free agency. I'm curious about that. But it's a slow time of year. We're kind of in that downtime with the Colts where nothing's going on except for guys getting suspended for the season.
Yeah, that was we talked a little bit about that. That's not only affecting the Colts, but the Detroit Lions, man, they look like they're about to get hammered with a number of players in that. Which is going to be
stupid. Do you have to be honest to God? I mean, they're like, oh, it's complicated. No, it's not complicated. Just don't bet on football. Don't bet on your own sport. And is it really that complicated to follow a rule that says don't bet on any sports while you're in the building? Can you just go through your Twitter like everybody else and your Instagram and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you would think that the one thing that they would make sure that they know is exactly what they can and can't do when it comes to gambling if they're going to gamble. Right. And so it's kind of hard to listen to any of those excuses. I'm like, I heard him say, "Well, I didn't know this was against the rule." I'm like, "Well, ask,
read the rule." I mean, it's just like with with steroids and stuff, and guys are taking different kinds of pills. Is this okay? You can call the Players Association. There's a hotline. They'll tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And to me, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. And I feel so bad for Isaiah Rogers' family because he's got two young kids. Now, where else can he find a job making millions? His career may be over for all we know. Apparently, he bet the over under on whether a teammate would run for a certain number of yards. I don't know if he bet the over or the under. Either way, you can't do it. It's like in baseball. There's one big sign on the back of the clubhouse door that says "Do not gamble." Verboten. Can't do it. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, and the NFL probably has been the most stringent on gambling throughout its the annals of the league. And now, I didn't even know some of this reading yesterday. They've got obviously multiple partnerships, which about 3 partnerships, I think. But there are stadiums in which you place the bets at the stadium of the game, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's just like going to Churchill Downs. I went to Churchill Downs one time in my life, and there was a giant betting window in the back of the press room. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! But look, this is the way of the world, and I'm not going to be an old fogey about it and say gambling bad. No, it's fine. If it's under control. It's a little overwhelming right now with ads every 10 seconds. But look, if you are lucky enough to play a professional sport, don't bet $50 on a football game. It's just silly.
Yeah, I agree. The money, the kind of money that they're making, especially, and then now you look at, say, the Colts, and they're losing someone they expected to have an important role with the team.
Oh, absolutely, and they gave up Stephon Gilmore for a 5th-round pick earlier this summer, and they're looking at Dallas Flowers, they're looking at Julius Brents, they're looking at a lot of very young players in that secondary. I think it's going to be a really challenged secondary, and I think they're going to have their problems against the pass game, against good quarterbacks, certainly.
Well, and then you've got the new quarterback in the Richardson from Florida, and a new coach, so it's a whole bunch of newness coming in.
Right.
I don't know how much of a distraction this is going to be, because it is what it is. So I don't know about it being that, but you just have the loss of the starter, like you said.
Right.
And that's a huge loss on a 53-man roster.
Sure. The good thing is it's happening, relatively early in the summer, so they've got plenty of time to go out and try and find somebody, somebody out on the street who can play. But what they need is to get lucky, like they did many years ago. Remember Mike Adams? They brought him in here as a late addition, a free agent, a veteran, and he was terrific. He was really good with the Colts. So they need to get lucky like that and find themselves another Mike Adams type player.
Let's see. In NBA, Romeo Langford will become an unrestricted free agent today if the Spurs do not extend him a qualifying offer. That's going to be interesting to see with Victor Wembanyama in the fold now, what they do.
Does it surprise you that Romeo has never really done anything?
Nope, because I don't remember him really doing anything other than being able to get to the rim in an offense that really had no offense.
Right.
And so that's
no perimeter shooting for sure.
No shooting, not a great defender. So no, I was, to be honest with you, I was more surprised that he's done what he's done.
Really? Yeah. I guess that's true. He never really impressed me all that much at IU. I realized it was only 1 year, and I realized he was on a team where they could, they could hang back and, play the drive all the time. But yeah, I mean, when you think about, I remember when he made his decision to go to Indiana. I remember that big show they put on, and now you look and you're like, man, whatever happened to that guy? Same thing with Carson Edwards. Where's he? Do you know?
Yes. Is he still in the league?
I don't know. I mean, he's got to be on the edge of the league somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I know he was close as well. But the thing is, though, I take it. Those guys, man, you get 3-4 years in, get that pension, baby. You're good. And he's got that.
They'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be fine there. But given what Romeo was expected to do, to be like a generational sort of player, he was not that at all. Something's missing there. I mean, he's got talent, but something's missing.
Yeah, like you said, he didn't have. I look at Race Thompson, who is getting to play in the New York Knicks on the New York Knicks NBA Summer League team, as having more. He has more tools in his toolbox than. I mean, he can actually not at a high percentage, but he can shoot the three at a 6'11" guy. He can bang down low. He can do a few other things, rebound. But I'm not saying he's going to make a roster.
No,
but
he's not. He's not. I'd be shocked, Jim. I'm not. I think Langford's got more skill than Thompson. I think Langford could be a player if if he could stay healthy and just kind of get his head together, and play the way Jackson Davis did his senior year or his last year, with that kind of passion and sense of purpose. I just never got that. I've never seen that from Romeo. He just seems so laid back. I don't see where the killer instinct is.
And speaking of Trace, he'll get that opportunity to show that passion as he was drafted by the Golden State Warriors. And the conversations I've had is that he was drafted with the expectations of him making the roster, of being on the roster spot.
Well, and especially now with what's his name, Draymond Green, with what's going on with his contract. Will he come back? I think Trace is really for at least for now a poor man's Draymond Green. I mean, Draymond can't shoot from the perimeter, but he does everything else. He'll rebound. He'll be a point forward. He'll set picks. He'll do the dribble handoff. He'll be that guy, kind of the fulcrum of the offense around which everything runs. And I think it's a perfect spot for Trace.
Absolutely was, because they had the spot for him, first of all, and they drafted him with that intention. And I know he was upset that the Pacers passed on him twice.
No. Well, I don't know what he was upset about. He told him not to draft him. My understanding is because they wanted to put him on a 2-way contract.
Yeah, I should have said that.
Yeah. I don't think the Pacers passed on him as much as his people told the Pacers, unless you're looking at a pro deal, not a 2-way deal, don't draft my guy. So that was his decision, and not a bad decision on his part. I think he's in the perfect spot right now.
Oh, for him, exactly. I don't think he could have ended up in a better position than where he is right now, and it gives him the best opportunity to stay in the league.
I agree, and the same with Fino. I think Fino's in a good spot too. He may take a year or two to really develop. I mean, I remember this is a long time ago, but what's his name? Chauncey Billups. He was a top draft choice of the Boston Celtics. Came out, he couldn't bring the ball up the floor without getting it stolen. It was pathetic. And it took him a couple of years. And Chauncey became one hell of a basketball player, Mr. Big Shot. So, I think Fino might be one of those guys. It might take him a year, 2, 3, but I think he's going to be a player in the league for sure.
And he landed at his absolute dream spot. He grew up a Kobe fan, and as a matter of fact, his commitment photo to Indiana, I think, had Kobe in it. Or he's wearing a Kobe jersey. But how that's got to be incredible for a kid at his level. I shouldn't say kid, but to land at your dream spot.
Right. No,
That never happens.
What number did he go? I'm trying to remember.
I was like 18, I think.
18,
he was just
something
outside,
like that. Okay.
somewhere just out 17, just outside of the.
That's kind of where most people figured he'd be top 20. Somewhere between 15 and 20. So yeah, good for him. I mean, I think it's good for. I mean, it's bad for Indiana. They lose his talent, but it shows that Mike is getting guys to the pros. That you can come in here and be a one and done, as they hope with the new kid. I'm going to mispronounce his name, Mbako.
Mackenzie Mbako.
Yeah, I got it right. So, I mean, these guys know you come to Indiana, you have an NBA coach or a coach with NBA background. He's going to help show you the way. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. As we look at the two programs, or Purdue and Indiana right now, they are definitely built completely differently. Completely different styles. And one is, tried and true at Purdue, and Mike Woodson is bringing a lot of newness back to Indiana for where they have not been for a while. But the talent level he hasn't landed all these guys yet, but he obviously landed a great group this past off season. And of the top of the kids that have been through, there are like 9 of the 7 that they've had official visits during the top 50.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's the level, the talent level is just off the charts. They have to land those guys, and then you've got guys like Flory Badunga, who's in state, who maybe end up at Duke. You don't know because but the talent level has definitely been raised greatly by Mike Woodson.
It's funny, in the old days with Indiana, during the one and done days, we'd always say, "Oh, we love Indiana because they're 3 and 4 year guys and they're older." And that's last year. That's yesterday's news, man. They right now they just want guys who are going to get to the league, and that's how you win big. That's how you win big in the college game.
How are you spending your 4th of July holiday?
I'm gonna play a little golf and hang out with some family and friends and figure out what the hell I'm gonna do next.
Snakes and sparklers, man. Snakes and
sparklers. I'll keep that in mind.
Fireworks stand.
M80s.
Snakes, the good stuff. You gotta have the good stuff.
Yes, always got the good stuff.
That's right. You are the good stuff, Bob Kravitz. That's why we love you.
All right, buddy.
Bob Kravitz, the good stuff. We appreciate you. Happy 4th of July weekend, man. Thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure. Have a good holiday, man.
You as well. We've got lots more coming up, and we'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market,
Jim, just a real quick reminder: if you have a chance on that gift card.
Oh, I sent an email to Ed, and I've got to follow back up with him. I haven't heard back from him, so I've tried to find it on mine where I went through it. And I'm like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if the email wouldn't come up or something. I think I don't know. I'll get it. Don't worry. I'm on it. I forgot.
Okay, no problem.
But I'll get. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. It's stupid on my part, but yeah, when I lost my old email, I lost that card. So
no worries. I got it. I'll get it.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
We'll talk next week.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Did I cut out a little earlier? I forgot.
No, you're fine. All right. I do believe Zach will be on shortly. Go and bring us back in.
Friends or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this last day of June, heading into the 4th of July holidays. Hope everybody is ready for it. Zach Osterman joins us. Last week, Zach, we were preparing for the Reds and Braves series, which turned out to be a great series, actually. We were talking about the Reds because they had the 12 or the 11 game streak going. They win one game in the series, a 1-run win, and then lose two 1-run games to the Braves. And the Braves were just 1 run from sweeping the Reds, which has kind of got lost in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I obviously with kids, I don't have the time to sit down and watch every inning of every game the way I used to. But I was, I had the game on Friday night and I was following it Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it was as back and forth, I think, of a series as probably the Braves have had this season. You can see with the Reds, they're a very young team. They're the sort of team where it kind of feels like, and I've seen other teams go through this. Obviously, the Braves went through it a few years ago where you almost kind of need to figure out how good you are. And you can look around and say, I think we're a good team and I think we can do this. But you almost kind of have to, just measure yourself up against other good teams and play in big environments and kind of, have those moments. And the Reds are obviously having one. And the flip side is, from the Braves perspective, I think the weekend was largely about the Reds and their fan base being re-energized. And I think they're leading the NL Central now and all that's fantastic. But from the Braves perspective, there was also, sort of an extent to which you say it was impressive that through all that, the Braves came back and still won the series. I guess to some extent a good weekend for all around. And then the Braves backstopped it by sweeping the Twins. And I think the Reds took 2 or 3 in Baltimore. So that was pretty impressive.
Professional sports are different than collegiate sports, but we all like to see different teams do well. And in baseball, it's difficult for both the Central divisions, I guess should say, in both leagues or the smaller market teams. But it is good for baseball without question to see teams like the Reds circulate their way back to the top because they hadn't been there in 3 decades nearly. Really, since the last World Championship. But the NFL has great circulation as far as Matt Taylor pointed out that every year they have at least 4 teams that make the playoffs that didn't make the playoffs the year before. So that is great for keeping fans energized and rotating that around. And baseball had kind of really gotten top heavy, with the big markets and all the dollars being spent.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say about big markets is that can be an ownership decision just as much as it can be a market driven. I mean, the Padres have one of the largest payrolls in baseball. San Diego's hardly a big market, and you can say that it's got some access to Los Angeles, but not really. It's certainly not going to crowd out the Dodgers. The point is you can't. I mean, even Atlanta, from a media market perspective, is I think usually the 6th or 7th largest media market in the country. It's not New York, it's not Boston, it's not Chicago, it's not LA, it's not San Francisco. But Atlanta has come up with a model that its ownership believes in that can sort of sustain, spending on a top 5, top 6 payroll. And obviously, if you look at the Braves payroll, they've handed out long-term contracts to a wide variety of their best players. So, but what I do agree with is just that, the league is better when you kind of freshen things up and when it's not when I was a kid, obviously the Braves were always winning. The Yankees were always winning. It felt like the Red Sox obviously kind of filled that gap after a while. But it's, the flip side, and you're not wrong to talk about the NFL either, but the flip side to that is that some of that is because the NFL, the sort of balance of power between players and owners is so much more lopsided in terms of, how contracts are negotiated and agreed and salary caps and things like that. So it's all a little bit of give and take. And I think I don't know if I've reached a moment of zen or anything, but as I've gotten older, I've just always tried to sort of appreciate the differences in sports and why, the NFL's fun for one reason and the NBA is fun for another one. I see this debate all the time, particularly among college basketball writers, about why college basketball is better than college football because the postseason setup is different. It's just sort of like, I just enjoy them both and I enjoy them for different reasons, but I think you've got to be allowed to just have fun with it. It's just sports. We're all just here to have fun.
Exactly. I agree. The NBA draft just passed, of course, and we've talked about the fact that Trace Jackson Davis, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and Race Thompson all having opportunities. Romeo Langford it was just announced, thanks Craig, that the Spurs did not tender a qualifying offer to him. He's now a free agent. And we were I was talking with Bob Kravitz earlier about, when he was at Indiana his 1 year, he was able to get to the rim, and that was his MO. And I don't really know where else he excelled at and what he's been able to really make better with his time in the league to extend his time there. Where we look at Jalen Hood-Schifino, what he offers, what he is going to bring. He's going to be a certain type of player, but Romeo's kind of a standalone type in this age.
Yeah, I mean, while we were talking, I pulled up his 538 player projection profile. And if you look at, just kind of the different kind of numbers, like he's kind of league average ish for his position in like height, weight. If you look at, he's really low percentile wise in terms of his shooting percentages and kind of just like his true shooting percentage, his free throw percentage. So you can't really pigeonhole him as a 3-point specialist or something like that. But the only thing he really, really excels at relative to his peers is his turnover rate. He doesn't turn the ball over very much, which is, there's value in that. I do think, it'll be interesting to see kind of where he lands. He's still a young player. You would, I think he's only 23 years old. You would imagine that, there's somebody out there that might take a look at his whole profile and his skills and his upside and just sort of say, well, let's put him on our bench and see if we can get something out of him. But to your point about his college career, even when he was at Indiana, you sort of looked at him and I think the NBA likes to think of players in terms of elite tools. Is there anything that you do at an elite or close to elite level from an NBA perspective? And then how many different things are there? Your shooting, your ball handling, even things as specific as, one of the big pluses for Trayce Jackson-Davis is always his second jump ability or his second leap ability, which is everybody leaps to block a shot or reach for a rebound. Let's say nobody gets the ball. Who's the first person back up off the floor? Because everybody goes back down. Who's the first person back up off the floor? And Trayce Jackson-Davis is elite at that, and that can get you a lot of rebounds, a lot of caroms, a lot of deflections, maybe the extra, block shot here and there. You always kind of wondered, like, what are the skills that Romeo brings that are just absolutely elite? And it is hard to pick one out now that you've seen him in the NBA. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody picks him up. He's also, obviously going to be affordable at a certain level because he's still young. But yeah, it'll be just kind of interesting to see where his career goes from here.
Yesterday, we had a chance to speak with Malik Renew, this first Indiana basketball player for the upcoming season on the roster that we've spoken with. And I said this earlier, the thing that stood out to me is how poised and how he just sounded so much older than a year ago. Not that he didn't sound that way. I mean, that he sounded young or childish last year. It was just that his answers were all full. They were just all good substance. And I was just impressed with how he just seemed like he had grown in this last year.
Yeah, I think, one thing that can be really clarifying for players is when teammates leave and they look around and, to some extent, I would imagine that, he looks at it and he'll say something like, we've brought in some other big men. I got to up my game. I'm not guaranteed anything. It was Indiana put Malik Renew in a really favorable situation last year. He was obviously a good player. He had some really good moments. He offered a ton of promise. And yet you could also sort of slide him in behind not just Trayce Jackson-Davis, but also Race Thompson and even to some extent Jordan Geronimo for portions of the season and sort of protect him where you needed to if he got in foul trouble or if a matchup wasn't great for him or, whatever. I mean, you think about, like, for example, that was it the Minnesota game? I'll look it up while we're talking, where I think he scored a ton of points in the first half, and then they kind of just didn't put him in the second half. And the reason that they more or less admitted that that they didn't, he scored 10 points in 12 minutes, and basically more or less everyone kind of admitted that the reason they had him out in the second half was Minnesota was switching everything, and they just didn't think the matchups were great for him. My point here is, you're able, that's a great situation to sort of bleed a freshman in and let him find his feet and all that. But then there will also come the time, and I think it's possible that time has come a little bit for Malik Renew here, where he looks around and he says, okay, all those guys that were in front of me are gone. And Xavier Johnson, Trey Galloway, those guys, they're the leaders of the team. They're the leaders of the backcourt. But, we brought in these young guys that could be really good, but I'm looking around and I'm the guy everybody needs to speak up. I'm the guy that needs to explain from a big man's perspective why we do this or how we switch this or what our coverage is for this situation or whatever it might be. And that doesn't mean Malik Renew's got to have all the answers. He's still only a sophomore, and there's going to be moments, trust me, there's going to be moments where it still feels like he's a sophomore. But I think that the thing that, to your point about kind of your observation that he just seemed a little bit more sort of comfortable and maybe mature. that stuff can clarify really quickly for a player when they do look around and they say, okay, there's, it's on me now. There's nobody else to take. If I don't do this, nobody else will, essentially. There's nobody else to take this up. I got to go do it. And I think maybe he's maybe, kind of grabbing that mantle as much as he feels like he can.
Yeah, Mike Woodson has definitely sat down with Malik and said, "Hey, man, your role's different this year. Trace Jackson Davis is gone. Race Thompson is gone. There are other guys that are here, but they're not guys that have been here for 4 years. And it just seems like he has taken that to heart, whether it's the challenge or the opportunity. But that has got, for fans, that has to be very exciting because of knowing what kind of a talent he is, because that says to me that, man, he's not only is he accepting that, but he's looking forward to that challenge.
Yeah, and again, I mean, the flip side to talking about the extra responsibility is Malik Renew also gets to look at it and say, well, now there's a ton of minutes for me. If I can stay on the floor, if I can stay out of foul trouble, then there's all kinds of minutes out there that, Trace Jackson Davis played like the second most minutes of any Big Ten player last season. Or the second highest percentage or something like that. It was the second highest percentage of minutes. I think only Jalen Pickett was higher. Well, he's gone. And that means not just his minutes are open, but his shots are open, his rebounds are open, all those different kinds of things. And Indiana will use Malik Renew differently. He's a different kind of player. There's a variety of ways in which you look at Malik Renew and say, he's not Trace Jackson Davis and you're not going to expect him to be. But he can look at that, he can look at this and sort of say, well, there's the obligation or the responsibility to step into more of a leadership role, to be a little bit more vocal, to be a little bit more present, whatever. But then there's also the opportunity of, if I can get better, if I can vary my own game, if I can keep improving, my offensive game, my pick and roll game, how I can work in transition, obviously, again, staying out of foul trouble, then there's a ton of minutes out there for me that I know my head coach is going to find. That's going to give me the opportunities that I want.
Zach, what you got planned for the 4th of July?
Nothing. Kids are out of school, so just hanging out, man.
Enjoy it, brother. We appreciate you.
Probably fire up the smoker for something, but I don't know what yet. So
snakes and sparklers.
There we go.
Zach Osterman, thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Have a great weekend, Jim.
Happy holidays, and you as well, brother. Zach Osterman joining us, and we got more coming up with the great Rick Bozich right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
snakes and sparklers.
They still sell snakes?
Man, that's Joe Dirt, man. Joe Dirt. The good stuff. Snakes and sparklers.
I didn't know they still sold snakes. I hadn't seen one for a while, but I'm out of the fireworks business.
Well, me too, but I'm pretty positive that those will never. They probably cost 10 cents to make, and they sell them for $5 or something.
Might not even cost 10 cents to make.
How you come up with that? How we're gonna make a snake? Pretty cool. It still amazes the 6-year-old.
Yeah, it does.
How have you been, man? What's new?
I've been all right. Louisville at least has that team of former players playing in the TBT this summer, so that gives us a little bit more to write about.
Yeah, but that starts in like a week, doesn't it?
I think it starts in some places in a couple of weeks. They don't play here for like nearly 4 weeks.
Oh, that's right. They have a regional site or something there.
8 teams in Freedom Hall. It's going to be pretty good, actually.
That'll be really fun.
Yeah. Too bad they couldn't get like an IU team and a Purdue team and a UK team and a Butler team or something.
Now, Purdue has a team, don't they?
I don't know. Do they?
I thought that they did.
Indiana's never been able to put one together.
Nope.
Didn't Elston try once?
Last year.
Yeah. Nobody
But
wants to do it.
Purdue has one player in the NBA, and Indiana has, I don't know, between 6 and 8, depending on what happens after.
Right. The I think Creeks played in it. Remy Abel plays, but he plays for Xavier.
Yeah, and Creek plays for Sideline Cancer.
Okay. So, yeah. But they got Russ Smith and Peyton Siva, so it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, that ought to be a good team.
Should be.
Maybe they can get Romeo. He wanted to go to Louisville anyway.
He's a restricted free agent, right?
And he's available. I guess not,
You
since
think-
he's restricted.
Well, that just means that if he gets an offer from somebody else, San Antonio has a chance to match it. That's all. And I don't know if they will.
Oh, I doubt it. I would bet that they'd say, thank you.
He's at a pretty critical point in his career. He needs to.
Yeah, I was talking about that. I'm like, I don't know what he does. I'm like, what is, with Jalen Hutchefino, you know what they're going to expect him to do. With Eric Gordon, you know what he does. I'm with OG Anunoby. His role, his tools have expanded, but at the very beginning, though, you knew where his talents lied, and he's expanded his game. Romeo I didn't really know where his talents lied because I never saw
10
it.
seconds.
Comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this last day of June, the last day of the first half of 2023, as we hit the July 4th holiday weekend, about to the All-Star break as well. That's about nuts now, right?
The All-Star break there's one more week of games. A week from Sunday, the last games.
Will the Reds be in first at the All-Star break?
Well, they played the Brewers the last season before the All-Star break, so they'll have a chance to figure it out.
I think John pointed this out yesterday, but they played the Brewers like 9 times in a short span, which I was like, how the heck does that happen, man? Against any team, but it's amazing. But that could either really set somebody apart or do nothing. You end up splitting it, then you cost yourself a game. But
yeah, it's not good. I think it's better for the drama, the race that you're playing teams in your own division the last month of the season, so that it's head-to-head stuff. But the baseball schedule's kind of strange this year anyway, Jim, because they changed it where every team plays every other team at least 2 games. So you're not playing the teams in your division as much as you used to. You used to play them 3 series home and away. Now you only play them 2 series home and away. But the Reds went into Baltimore and won 2 out of 3. That was impressive. That was very impressive.
And especially they're bouncing back from losing the series to Atlanta, which they could have easily swept or been swept.
Right.
That was a tight series, but that had to be good for the Reds to go toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in baseball, definitely in the best teams in the National League, the Atlanta Braves, and to just slug it out with them.
Atlanta and Tampa are the 2 best teams in baseball, and for the Reds to go toe-to-toe with them is impressive. And I'm sure I don't follow the Reds closely enough to know who they have played, but I don't know. Do they still have to go to Atlanta this year, or have they already gone down there? I don't know. So they might have one more series with them.
Yeah, I'll have to look on that. I'm not sure, but because I know last year they opened up with them, and I don't know if they played them again.
I do know they play. I don't know where they're at this week, and I think they came back home, but they play the Nationals next week, which is a team they should be able to beat, and then they finish with the Brewers. So got a chance to be one of the surprise stories in baseball at the All-Star break by being in first place.
Eli, speaking of surprises, Eli De La Cruz, he missed by 1 day for being in the league the shortest time hitting for the cycle.
Right.
He has just been phenomenal. And while he has been unbelievably phenomenal, Shohei Ohtani, I can't stop talking about him. This guy, have we ever seen anything like this in baseball? And yesterday someone threw up Babe Ruth, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to discount what he did. He hit a lot of home runs, and he used to pitch, and he did it in a way by not being in great shape, but he must have been a superior athlete. But, man, what Ohtani is doing is just crazy.
Yeah, I would never denigrate Babe Ruth. Never saw him play in person, obviously, or just seen some videos. But I have watched Ohtani. I've watched him in 7 games against the White Sox this year. He hit 7 home runs. They just got done playing him a 4-game series in Anaheim, and in 4 games he hit 4 homers, 1 triple, like 3 singles, and struck out 10 in the game he pitched. So there, you just look at all the great players there on baseball and the great athletes right now, and there's nobody who comes close to his skill set. He's probably the best hitter. I mean, you could argue for some other guys, and he's one of the best pitchers. Nobody's doing that, and I don't know. And he's going to get paid though, man. He's a free agent after this year, so he will become the highest paid player in the history of baseball by next season.
Oh, yeah, but without question. And if he needs an extra agent or a bag boy or whatever, I think he'll have room for all that. Romeo Langford, did we ever talk about him?
We talked about him off air, not on air.
Okay, good. Yeah, Romeo did not get a qualifying offer from San Antonio. I'm not surprised by that. I've talked about it a few times here today. When he was in Indiana, he could get to the rim, but other than that, I don't know what his skill was. He was not a shooter. He's not a good shooter. Still isn't a good shooter. Not a great defender. So, and you talked about him being at a critical point in his career, and he is, because I'm like, what's he lean on? He hasn't really improved his game that much.
You're right. I mean, you gotta have something you do well. I mean, I think the thing he's most appreciated for at this point in his career is his defense. He has been a pretty good defender. The thing that's alarming about Romeo is that he's been on some bad teams and not really gotten to play a whole bunch. San Antonio was obviously one of the worst teams in the league this year, which resulted in them getting Victor Wembanyama. He's in a group of guards or backcourt guys there who are young and unproven, and he couldn't establish himself there. Going to need a good agent who can get him with a team that, if there's still a team that believes in him, and get him a chance to play. I mean, in some ways, you could make the argument that he made a mistake. He got paid. I know people say, well, he got all that money, but he might have benefited from another year at Indiana and becoming a better all-around player. So when he went into the league, he was more suited to contribute, because he went to the Celtics and never really did.
And I would probably agree with that 99 times out of 100, except for the fact that he was playing for Archie Miller in an offense that seemed like it was underwater all the time, which
yeah. But he was the leading scorer, wasn't he? I think he was.
Yeah, he was just turned loose. It was go stand in the corner until you get the ball and then try to get to the rim. And the fact that he was able to successfully do that time and time again, you got to give him credit for that, because he averaged like 15 points a game. He was one of the higher scoring freshmen for Indiana all time. And so he did things, but it's not that he doesn't have obvious talent. My gosh, he's in the NBA, but man, there's OG Anunoby. He expanded his skill set. He became a better shooter. We knew he was a great defender. and that's where they're going to lean on with his length and whatnot. But he expanded to other parts of his game, and just like most people do, you have to, especially at that level.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to really he's got to be able to shoot the ball. I'm looking at his stats right now. He's a 26% 3-point shooter this season. He's a 28.8% 3-point shooter for his career in the NBA. He's a 69.6 free throw shooter in the NBA. That's not going to cut it. And for his career, he's a 66% 3-point shooter. So he needs to get with some kind of a personal coach who can help him become a better shooter if it's still possible, because unlike in college or in high school, he's not just going to be able to drive and score around the rim all the time. He's going to have to learn how to shoot the ball. And, he's been in the league now 4 years. He's made a good bit of money, but after the fourth year is when you start getting those big contracts, and he's not getting one. He's in a point right now where I'm pretty sure the situation is he can sign wherever he wants. He's a restricted free agent, right? And the Spurs have the option of matching the deal. And, I wouldn't think that they would. I mean, they didn't really play him that much last season. So he's going to need to find another team to go and give him a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then we'll follow along and see what the rest of the former Indiana players that have opportunities this summer get to do. And Purdue has been probably the most consistent team in the Big Ten, but they have one player in the NBA right now.
Is that Jaden Ivey? Yeah.
And
amazing.
Or Carson Edwards. Jaden Ivey or Carson Edwards?
Jaden Ivey definitely in the NBA. I don't know if
Carson Edwards is done. So, and Indiana has probably been the most inconsistent team over that period, yet they have between 6 and 8 guys in the league. I don't know if that's good or bad for Indiana, but I know it's good for the fact of showing that no matter what, they're always producing talent. And so that has to be good for recruiting when you don't have the winning to go with it. And now as they get closer to putting those both together, Indiana should start seeing a bigger boon in recruiting.
It sure seems to be trending in that direction. I mean, and Mike Woodson was there in New York with Jalen Hood-Schifino last Thursday, just as John Shire was there for Duke, and John Calipari was there for Kentucky, and Kelvin Sampson was there for Houston, and Nate Oates was there for Alabama. That's what you do. You're selling your program. And I think Woody's got the ability to go left or go right. He can say, you think you're a one and done? I took a guy that wasn't a lock one and done. He was ranked in the top 25 recruits, but not the top 10. And he became a one and done. I turned my team over to him. If you're good enough, I will trust you with my team. Okay. You don't think you're a one and done? You need time to develop? Call Trace Jackson Davis. 2 years ago, nobody in the NBA would have drafted him. It was all skeptical. He listened to me, followed my plan. And 2 years after that, he's on the Golden State Warriors. I can do this. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And from what I've read, they're in on a very high, and I know you just had Zach Osterman on. They're in on some of the biggest recruits they've been in on at IU for a long time in this year's class and next year's class. Now it's just a matter of how many they can get to commit.
Yeah, and that's on top of getting guys like Khalil Ware and Mackenzie Mbako, who are here now. But winning, you got to win.
Emily Canoe is a good player, and I think if he's healthy, I think Ja'Kai Newton is going to be a good player. Whenever I watch video of him, that dude is
he's a beast.
He's an elite defender already. I don't know how good he's going to be on offense, but he's an elite defender and he's a competitor. CJ Gunn still has a chance to be a good player. I think Caleb Banks has a chance to be a good player. They've got guys who can become good players. And the key for those guys is being in the gym this summer and doing the work.
Yeah, it seems like, as you mentioned, all those different players, they have a team that is, I don't want to use balance. I don't know if balance is the word I'm looking for, but more competitive with each other across the board. I think it just seems like there's more. It's more level.
We've gone through a 4-year period where everybody knew Trace Jackson Davis was going to score the most points in nearly every game, and he did. I mean, sometimes, Xavier Johnson would or Jalen Hood-Schifino did. But night in and night out, if you were putting a bet down who's going to lead Indiana in scoring, you'd put your money on Trace Jackson Davis, and over the course of his career, you'd win money. I think this year, going into the season, you don't know who the top scorer is going to be. You can guess that I think it might be Renew because he's the most proven, or I think it's going to be Xavier Johnson because he's going to be the point guard, or it might be somebody we're not even talking about. Who knows? It could be Caleb Banks. Maybe he's the guy who makes the jump. So I agree with you. You don't know the rotation. You don't know who the guys who are going to be consistent, and you don't know what 8 or 9 player rotation he's going to go with.
The TBT coming up. Indiana does not have a team. I don't know if Purdue's going to have a team this year. I think they've had one in the past. You said that Louisville has one. Not only do they have a team, they have a region there. Was it 8 teams you said would be done there? Or
8
16?
teams starting the last week in July. 8 teams. They're playing in Freedom Hall.
First of all, playing in Freedom Hall, very, very cool because that is a venue that is, while it's old, it doesn't look that. Well, I can't say. It's been a while since I've been in it, but it's got character, man. There have been some games in that thing going all the way back to the NCAA finals back in the 50s, I think.
Yeah, a couple in the 50s and 4 in the 60s, including Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won 2 of his 3 titles in Freedom Hall.
Yeah, some great history. I mean, I've seen some great games there. The great Indiana-Kentucky series that was there. I mean, there was no better to see that stripe down the middle. And by stripe, I just mean that's where the tickets ended, and this side was blue and this side was red. It was clear on who was on what side. That is so lost. Man, that was without question to me the greatest series at the time. Even Duke and North Carolina did not touch that to me. You had 2 complete states, 2 complete rabid fan bases just going at it. And man, I missed that.
Yeah, and it was 1 game a year, not 2 or even 3 like you see down there. I mean, the Duke and Carolina play they usually play the Saturday after the Super Bowl, and then they lost that one. They'll get them on the last weekend of the season. That Indiana-Kentucky game, the winner and loser had to live with it for another year. And yeah, it's been a big loss for fans for the most part, and for tradition of the game. And it's unfortunate that the whims and the personality of one coach can come in and just discard that because it's not what he wants to do. Hopefully, when things change in Lexington, that the next coach in there will have a little bit more respect for the tradition of the game.
Yeah, because there have been talk that maybe we were 2 years out from that, and I haven't heard anything on that.
It's gone backwards. Now they're not going to play in football, which creates more. In baseball, it creates more hard feelings, and I don't know. I don't get it because, as you know, they used to play in football, baseball, and basketball. Now they're not playing any of them.
What was the deal with baseball? I never really heard because that series was canceled before the Chippy series that they played.
Kentucky doesn't want to come up to Bloomington anymore. Maybe it's because of the weather. I don't know. I don't know what it is. They played 1 midweek game. 1 year in Lexington, 1 year in Bloomington. Maybe they don't want to come up to Bloomington in March or April where the weather can be bad. I don't know. But then when Indiana played down in Lexington in the regional, Indiana won the first time they played and celebrated a home run. The kid put a chain on, and then he couldn't play the next game. And then from what I've been told and what I read in one place, that Kentucky told the umpires or asked the umpires to investigate whether Indiana had some kind of a camera and was stealing signs. And the umpire said, no, that wasn't true. And that, as you would imagine, angered the IU people. And then I think the IU third base coach had a son who was 12 or 12 and a half years old who went to some of the games and was in the games in Lexington, and he was a bat boy in the dugout. And according to somebody I talked to with IU, that Kentucky complained and got the rule book out and said the kid wasn't 13, and you had to be 13 to be in the dugout. And so he was forced to not sit in the dugout for the next 2 games they played Indiana, and that made it even worse.
How petty can you get?
I'm just telling you what I heard, man.
Wow.
And you could tell after the game, I mean, there was a pretty animated discussion on the field, and you could tell after the game in the press conference that Jeff Mercer wasn't very happy.
And he's as good a guy as you're going to meet.
I know. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Oh, I hear you. Jennifer letting us know that Purdue does have a TBT team, and Robbie Hummel is playing. She thinks that
wow.
I don't know.
I think that's right. I think I did read that somewhere. Hope he doesn't get hurt, man. He had some pretty serious injury history.
Oh man, I had to reach out to Robbie, get him on here, boys. Ooh, mercy. That's got to be hard. I'm sure he stays in shape, but with his TV schedule, I'd say he seems like you think he's pretty busy. But hey, man,
maybe they can break out a little Isaac Haas, or what was that big dude's name who transferred to BYU?
It was Haas, yes.
Was it? No, there was another guy.
No. That was the guy from the Netherlands.
Yeah, the guy that Kentucky tried to get, and he picked BYU.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
I'm gonna look it up. Don't let me go.
Man, they had the funky hair going all the time, but he was from Amsterdam, I think, or something, or just.
You're right. That would have been about 2020.
Can't believe John, you can't remember his name. They usually put it up for us so quick.
Matt Harms.
Matt Harms, yes.
Travion Williams, Matt Harms, Sasha Stefanovic. They got all kind of players, man.
Craig was right there, man.
Here's one guy who is playing. Nogel Eastern. I read he was playing.
Wow. They're going to have a good team.
Yeah. Talk about a guy that can't shoot.
It's going to be fun. What's coming up for you for the holiday weekend, man?
I don't know. I might go out and watch some baseball here in town with the Bats. Probably just take it easy. I'm sure I'll watch the White Sox. They're playing the mighty Oakland A's this weekend. Chance to hopefully improve their record and
maybe get a perfect game.
Crank up the grill. Got the grill all cleaned and ready to go.
Does the perfect game count against the Oakland A's?
I raised that question yesterday. It should have an asterisk. Yeah.
I mean, they're the absolute. Not only are they the worst team in baseball, they may be the worst team that's been in baseball for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, their run differential is like already close to 300 runs. It's absurd.
And just the other day, I saw you talk about adding salt into the wound. Their center fielder went up and stole a home run, and it took his glove off.
Of course it did.
I mean, it literally took his glove off. He makes the catch. But I'm thinking, what kind of, has he got a basket on? Because that thing came off, and I'm like, wow, that's a big glove. But
yeah, man, going back to your Reds, here's the oddity for the Reds. They do play the Brewers the last 3 games before the All-Star game, 3 games in Milwaukee, and then they play them again the first 3 games after the All-Star break in Cincinnati. So,
and then they play them again, I think, shortly thereafter.
Not in July. Let's see if it's in August.
John, didn't you tell me that yesterday? You fibbed.
I don't see
That
it.
was probably Dustin. Dustin's the baseball guy, not me.
They play the Padres, and they got 4 against the Nationals. They need to make hay there. Then they got the Brewers. Yeah, you're right. They do play them again the following week, 3 games in Milwaukee. That's crazy. They play them 3 out of 5 series. They play Brewers, Giants, Diamondbacks, Brewers.
Well, we'll get to see what happens in the National League Central. Well, man, I cannot thank you enough. I hope you have a very, very great, safe, and fun 4th of July weekend. Lots of snakes and sparklers.
I'm going out to get some snakes and sparklers right now.
The great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you give him a follow. If you're not already, you're missing out. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye, John.
Well, we've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
All right.
I'm hungry, man. I'm really hungry.
Get yourself some grub when we're finished here.
Yeah. I am hungry. Dun 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 it. Dun 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 it. Dun 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 it. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 bum bum bum. I'm really hungry, man.
You're like the truth. Send food.
Right now. That's right, Robert. Send food and money. Snakes and sparklers, snakes and sparklers.
All right. 30 seconds.
Where Bloomington near Cabello is locally owned and operated by Endeavor Hospitality Group. Launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewery, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Cabello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this 4th of July Friday, June 30th, but close enough as we head into the holiday weekend. Hope you're ready and get all the snakes and sparklers and hot dogs and all that stuff that you need for the weekend. Hope everyone got through the weather yesterday. I know it was rough all over the different parts of the state. Southern part, man. But that's June for you, right? What was it like down your way, John Boy?
We had bad storms again. Over the past 2 weeks, we've gotten a lot of rain, more than we normally do this time of year. And but that's going to be done this weekend. I'm pretty sure the heat's coming. The 90-degree temperatures and the heat index is supposed to read close to 100. So summer weather is here.
Summer weather is here. Robert, the truth says go Yankees. What you, man? How you become a Yankees fan in Evansville? Come on. Yankees. He should be a Cardinals or a Reds fan. And I understand not being a Cardinals fan right now, but they win enough, so the Cardinals fans get to take a year off.
There you go.
Not very often that happens. But the Reds and Brewers series, that's going to be fun to keep an eye on. As that unwinds itself here as we get to in another, less than a week as they play the first series right before the All-Star break. What are your plans for the holiday weekend?
You know, I think I mentioned earlier this week, normally I go down to Patoka Lake in southern Indiana.
You mean up to?
I don't think I'll be doing that this year. not for any
Why?
particular reason. But that's just my classic 4th of July spot. I don't know if I'll be there this year though.
I understand that. James pointing out that the truth is a fan of the Yankees, I guess, is because of Donnie Baseball, who was from Evansville. Do you know who Donnie Baseball is? John?
That reminds me. You say Donnie Baseball, and my mind immediately goes to Johnny Football. You know they're coming out with a documentary about Mr. Johnny Manziel.
No, I did not know that.
I can't imagine what that's going to entail.
I can imagine. Now he did some great things at quarterback in college.
Yeah, he did, and then some not so great things afterward.
Yeah. Kevin pointing out that Romeo Langford has actually been a pretty good defensive player in the NBA. Yeah. I misspoke a little bit earlier on that, but it's where all the other talents. It's like, man, I don't know that other than if you're like a Rodman type, where you're playing great defense and getting a lot of rebounds. But I think that they can find a lot of guys that can play defense, but can also give them something offensively. Well, that's up for those guys to make that determination, not me. I'm not a GM. Not a GM. But hopefully he finds a landing spot. Or if not, he can start the Indiana's first TBT team. Robert's grandfather was a Yankee fan. Man, it's going back to the old days. How far back was that, Truth? Those are, man, we're talking about the Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Joltin' Joe, those teams. Fred says, great All-Star Friday. Thank you, sir. Johnny Manziel. Wonder what he's doing now. Maybe the documentary.
I believe the last time he had a professional, or he was on a professional roster, he was playing in the Canadian Football League. I don't know if that's still the case, though.
I don't think he's playing anymore. The TBT is about a week away. Looking forward to that getting started. And closer than that, starting next week, we've got the NBA Summer League. So we will be excited to be able to follow along with that, see who's doing what. And I forget who was on with us, and we were talking that they thought that Trace Jackson-Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino were going to play like the first game, and the schedule I've seen, that's not the case. So, but nonetheless, looking forward to these games and seeing who does what, seeing these guys play in a different environment. It'll be interesting to see Trace Jackson-Davis play, and you'll be able to get the opportunity to see what he's going to be able to do at that level. And whoever your favorite player might be from whatever team. Looking forward to that as well. Let's see, John Boy. Before I forget, no YouTube shows Monday and Tuesday.
Correct.
For the holidays. And then on July 20th, do not forget, Never Lose Hoop golf outing at the golf club at Eagle Point, which supports the Hulls Foundation, which takes care of area children with cancer and their families. It's a great event. Get yourself a team, sign up. You can go online, just go to events.golfstatus.com, and then you can just search in there for Never Lose Hoop. and it'll pop up. You could register. You can get the information. There's sponsorship information. I do want to see how many of our listeners will sponsor a hole, $100. Get the sign with your name on it. Let's support those kids. Or if you can play, get yourself a team. Put it together. It's going to be fun. Great dinner. You get lunch. Get all kinds of stuff. Three opportunities at hole-in-one contests. 2 $5,000 ones and a $10,000 one, man. And somebody just hit a hole-in-one on that course on one of the par threes last week. Oh, it's doable. It is doable. Just not by me. I don't think I could hit a hole-in-one if they made the hole a foot wide. I really don't. A lot of luck involved there, but a lot of skill. And I don't have the skill. The truth's also a Laker fan. So they are playing Golden State. I guess I read a wrong schedule. So looking forward to that. July 3rd, Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino will be matching up. Well, not guarding each other. By that, I don't mean. Their teams will be matching up as the Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors. Thank you much for that, Truth. Appreciate that. So that'll be fun. Yes, Jim, I will never agree that LeBron is better than Jordan, but everybody gets to have their opinion, and he is a lot smarter than I am. So I would never debate Mike DeCourcy in much. I can just offer my useless opinions. Let's see. Before I forget, I want to make sure we hit up on everything. John, am I missing out on anything good?
No, I believe it's about time to not to wrap up the show, but we're in that time of year where we're kind of in the transition. You know, the official collegiate sports calendar turns over tomorrow. A lot of people mark that as July 1st. So preparations will be starting here soon for fall sports. Obviously, in the end of July, we'll have Big Ten football media days, the unofficial kickoff to college football, or to Big Ten football at least. And then we'll have plenty of other things coming up here as the summer rolls along, right?
Yep. I want to mention J.D. Campbell, the 16-year sports information director / media relations director for basketball at Indiana University. Today's his last day. Yesterday, he did the presser with Malik Renew, and that was his last press conference. And so I want to thank JD for all that he has done in allowing us to do what we do in covering Indiana basketball and Indiana athletics. Was always fair and just a huge help. And it's so important having people like that in there, because that's the lifeblood of what we do. Working on getting JD on next week when we come back, possibly next Wednesday when we come back. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to get him the co-host for a day, and we'll have a lot of fun with that, with the various guests and whatnot. So looking forward to that when we return. That would be, you talk about a ton of knowledge. I mean, the information that is in the heads of people like JD it's like computers. Big baseball guy. He's a Braves fan. So we can chat a little bit about that as well. But
1 minute.
Looking forward to getting him on. That'll be kind of a first. Looking forward to hearing some of his stories from over the years. Man, I cannot thank everybody enough on the program today. From thehoosier.com, Alec Busse, Bob Kravitz, our good buddy, Zach Osterman, and Rick Bozich. What a great day. But it was even better because of you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here, and we are so fortunate and grateful that you allow us to do that. For John, the producer, I'm Jim Coyle. Go out and have yourselves a great and safe 4th of July holiday weekend. Until next Wednesday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports.